And welcome to the Daily Space Weather Show, coming at you again with the last 24 hours of solar activity, which have been kind of slow in terms of stuff going on. However, there is another coronal mass ejection happening as we make the video. Also, the largest flare of the past 24 hours just happened a few minutes ago. We'll show you all that stuff and plenty more today at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. This 24-hour video features ionized carbon and iron. That's 1,600 angstroms and 171 angstroms respectively from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. Figured we would mix it up and show some features not normally shown on the Daily Space Weather Show. Since it's a little bit slow, a little bit of variety added to the most detailed solar imagery you'll find in the known universe. So there's, I think, a new sunspot rising right there. It's just barely peeking into view as we produce the video. There was also a new sunspot that rose down there in the southeast. That one is definitely a sunspot. And it's pretty decent in size. We've also been watching a filament down there in the southwest. It's been there for a few days. And you might see some CME activity down there in the southeast as well. Right about there. A little bit of a filamentary ejection. Here's that southwesterly filament. Part of a large prominence there, stretching for a couple 100,000 kilometers there across the southern hemisphere. And by the way, won't you take a moment to press the like button? If you like the content, help out the channel with the ridiculous algorithm and press the like button. Leave us a comment. Are you mad because CGI? Yes, the images from the SDO are CGI. The AIA instrument, it's looking at ultraviolet light. That's not visible to the naked eye. And those wavelengths don't even make it to the ground level, which means you need a spacecraft. And you need a digital camera taking pictures in the ultraviolet portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. So, yeah, it's CGI, I guess. All digital imagery is CGI. Does that mean it's fake? Well, absolutely not. Yeah, I think more people think the Earth is flat now than did 2,000 years ago. So, always interesting, always interesting. And yeah, press the like button, press share, press all the things, comment, etc. Tell your friends and foes about the channel. We need your help to get the content onto screens. Today's featured product from the Redbubble shop, the Smash-O merch product of the day is Mask Up, Bro. Bro, mask up. Your mask keeps me safe and my mask keeps you safe. Ka. If you're sick, stay home. The product is titled, Since You're Sick, Stay Home. Are you still seeing sick-looking people going around in public with one of these things on their face? It's pretty berserk. And by the way, folks, accountability always comes, including accountability for the last 43 months. The universe does not forgive nor forget. Accountability will come in one form or another eventually to all entities. So anyway, if you're sick, since you're sick, stay home. The product of the day. I think somebody bought some stickers. Anyway, the featured products from Hemp Lucid are all of them. Perhaps try the CBD in the water-soluble, or what about the MCT suspension? The MCT suspension lasts longer and has a slower onset. The water-soluble has a faster onset and does not last as long. Also, on sale are the mushroom gummies there, also the immune stacks, stress stacks, sleep stacks, and full stacks. Massive savings there on the stacks. Sleep, immune, stress, and full stacks. Save at least $15 on any of those at our Hemp Lucid link in the description below this video. Support the channel that way, perhaps. Or what about helping out via clicks at the official homepage of the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, smashomash.com. And by the way, welcome to the neo-renaissance. We've launched a massive web ring to help people like you. And we are free speech purists. By the way, we encourage all legal speech. You can also find a link below the video and on the homepage to the Amazon store, amazon.com/shop/smashomash. Today's featured product is B Complex. Yeah, B vitamins with vitamin C and folic acid. Did you know that a B vitamin deficiency can cause bad breath? I don't even remember. I don't know which B vitamin that is. It's one of them, so I don't care. I just take the complex. It's also involved in energy processing. Don't have a B vitamin deficiency. You will have issues. Perhaps pick up other supplements. You want to know what I take? Most of the things I take are right there on the list at amazon.com/shop/smashomash in the supplements shopping list. So that's today's featured product, the B Complex with C and folic acid. You can also support the channel. The best way is to become a gold annual paid-up subscriber at smashomash.com/SmashTeam. These videos are brought to you in part by Gold and Silver Smash Team members, also by Smash staff and I at massive personal risk and expense. So consider becoming a member of the Smash Team. Help out the channel that way. Increase the probability these videos will continue to exist, remain publicly visible, and free for all to view. Smashomash.com/SmashTeam, the official subscription services site. We launched it back officially in October of 2021. Get additional content by becoming a member of the Smash Team. Next, looking at yesterday plus today, at least today to date. And there you can see that rather decent-sized sunspot rising in the southeast. Again, there is one new one that just rose in the northeast as well. We'll show you high-res imagery of that before we get to our meteorology segment. Here's colorized magnetogram for October 15th and October 16th to date. A decrease in solar activity continues. Sunspot number approaching 100, and let's talk volcanoes. Check it out. New real estate forming there at the home reef of Tonga. The western portion of that island there is getting larger as the underwater seamount volcano effuses more lava, creating a bigger island. Kluchevskoy is also erupting, exploding and diffusing. And Kluchevskoy is located on the Kamchatka Peninsula of Russia, the easternmost portion of Russia there. No volcanic ash plume reported there. Sakurajima exploding, 12,000-foot ash plume at Sakurajima. That's a continued uptick there at Sakurajima on the Isle of Kyushu, Japan. Suminosejima, 6,000-foot ash plume over the Ryukyu Islands. Unknown volcanic ash cloud from Mount Mayon, Philippines. There's that information about the home reef. Shishildin in the Aleutian Islands produced a water vapor gas plume. Mostly steam and other volcanic ash, mostly steam and other volcanic gases there. Not necessarily indicating an imminent eruption. Alert level remains orange for Shishildin. Popocatépetl, volcanic ash not observed in satellite. It could be cloudy. Fuego not observed either. Nevado del Ruiz exploding, flight level 230. Flight level 200 over Sangay. Sabancaya, flight level 250 as it explodes. And also Villarrica there, producing some pyroclastic incandescent material. Please do not pole vault the caldera. And we have had some earthquakes on the west coast of the U.S. There's the past 90 days of large quakes. Let's check the list. By the way, the largest of the past 24 at California was this 4.8 south of Eureka. There's a location of that one in Redwood State Park. That was just earlier this morning, a couple hours ago at 10:20 Universal Time. We don't normally cite quakes of a... Oh, check it out. A big quake there in the Aleutians came in while we were creating the show also. So a bunch of things going on here. We'll report quakes of a 5 or greater magnitude, and that one certainly was. Looks like it might be in the Bering Sea as opposed to the North Pacific. We'll check. So there was a 5.2 at Kamchatka. I'm sorry, Kermit. Why does it say Kamchatka? Oh, because it's on Kamchatka. I guess that could explain it. That 5.2 was at 6:48 this morning, so a big uptick here in earthquakes around the North Pacific. So 5.2 at Kamchatka, 5.2 at Fiji, that one outside the pattern there. That one north of New Zealand. That 5.2 was at 8:46 Universal Time this morning. This 5.7 was at 10:42 Universal Time this morning. And then check it out. A 6.4 in the Aleutians. It was at depth, though. Nearly 200 kilometers estimated depth for that one. There is a location of that one in the southern Bering Sea there, north of the Aleutian Islands. So that's the largest quake of the past 24 hours occurring while we produced the show today at 11:35 Universal Time. And that is our cue to return to space. A frontier. There's SDO 304 plus 171 angstroms, ionized helium and iron. And again, you will see this filamentary eruption here, this prominent feature in the southeast. Shows up a little better in those wavelengths. And here we've subtracted 171 angstroms to show just ionized helium, 304 angstroms by itself. And let's talk stats. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux now down to 145 solar flux units. And for you new viewers, the radio flux is the most important feature besides sunspot number. It is directly proportional to sunspot number, as you'll see on this one-year chart. The red line is the sunspot number. The black line is the 10.7 centimeter radio flux, sometimes referred to as the F107 radio flux. It comes from the upper chromosphere and lower corona, just above the surface of the closest star. That hydrogen gets excited the closer and closer we get to solar maximum, which is still like over a year out, by the way. Space Weather Enthusiast Dashboard. This is NOAA's forecast, not forecasting any geomagnetic storms or geomagnetic unrest. We are expecting the possibility of some mild geomagnetic storm activity sometime starting late in the day tomorrow on October 17th because of a CME impact, and then another possible CME impact sometime on the 18th. So we're expecting the one on the 18th to be a little bit more of a significant hit. For some reason, NOAA and NASA did not detect these CMEs. I don't know. They haven't even modeled them. So, but that's the Space Weather Enthusiast Dashboard. And here's the Enlil spiral. This is NOAA's forecast. And we don't see those CMEs modeled at all. It's as if they didn't even see them occur. Maybe they're on vacation. I don't know. But they certainly don't have them directed toward Earth. There's no there. Looks like they do actually have one from the 14th. I don't know. Anyway, that's NOAA's forecast. As you can see, it's very different from ours. We're expecting 2 CME impacts, one late in the day tomorrow on October 17th, and one sometime around midday on October 18th. They'll be mild. NASA also did not forecast any of those. They were kind of stealthy, but not that stealthy. Anyway, that's NASA's forecast, also largely not modeled there. Now, we'd show you the geospace magnetosphere movies, but they are not loading today, so I'll just show you this. Extremely low density solar wind is what's currently going on. Hence, you see all that white on the imagery. That represents low density plasma there. The blue represents high density, and you can see the plasma sphere is quite tight to the Earth at the moment. That model is based on various data points, by the way, and it's looking like that as a result of the extremely low density solar wind. There's the magnetohydrodynamic pressure, and there's not a lot of pressure according to that model. Also, the ground magnetic perturbations map not working. That is data from yesterday, so that is the space weather prediction. The space weather modeling framework is currently busted for whatever reason. Planetary K index is at KP1. Very geomagnetically calm conditions here for the past couple of days. Expect a little bit of an uptick tomorrow. Probably see no higher than a KP5 tomorrow and no higher than a KP6 on Wednesday. Check out the real-time solar wind. Extremely diffuse solar wind once again. Less than half a proton per cubic centimeter here. 0.44 protons per cubic centimeter for the solar wind density. Solar wind velocity here under 350 kilometers per second at 342. And look how weak the fields are, too. The BT-BZ is 2 nanotesla with a BZ of 0. So that is weak solar wind indeed, folks. Ghost magnetometers here are smooth over the past couple of days. Expect some spiky undulations in that coming tomorrow and Wednesday. Next, the fantastic predictive value of the top view ecliptic plane field plot. Just yesterday, Earth snapped into a South Pole current sheet. As you can see here in red, there's that South Pole current sheet. Having left the North Pole current sheet, and the next North Pole current sheet is several days out, maybe even a week. But that's what's going on with the polarity of the plasma. And this, once again, another South Pole current sheet with extremely weak solar wind. The sun is being stingy with plasma, holding it all back. And you can indeed see a lot of plasma filaments on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk, which we will cover before we do our bonus features segment. Here's our line of sight field plot. Polar fields in red and green for south and north, respectively. B field in blue. Grayscale photosphere magnetogram by Gong. The Global Oscillation Network. And that brings us to coronal holes. There's our coronal hole line of sight plot. And what do we got? South Pole coronal holes in the north and east. North Pole coronal holes in the south and west. So these are north. These are south. Sector boundary crossing is something like this. That's SDO 211 angstroms. And we might see those coronal holes get a little bit more well-defined here in the coming days. Looks like some more coronal holes about to rotate in down here in the east also, ahead of that new sunspot that just rose in the southeast. And how about if we do sunspots next? Just kidding, I wasn't really asking. Sunspots here just over 100. About to reach the lowest levels, nearly the lowest levels in the past month. Sunspot number continues to decline here, although we will see an uptick now today because at least 2 new sunspots will get names. And here is our flare monitor and flare scoreboard. So, I mean, the most likely place to see large flares, in my opinion, is the one where the largest flare has happened in the past 24 hours. This one right here, 3467, is certainly the most likely place to see large flares because we just saw the largest flare the past 24 hours. It just occurred while we produced the show. So you'll see that at the end of this video here. No, maybe not. All right. Anyway, it's this sunspot group right here that is the most active sunspot for the past 24 hours. That most recent flare was about a C 7.5. There's a continuum by itself, and you can see most of those groups there remaining stable. No major growth nor degradation. Next, we got to show solar energetic particles, and we ain't got none. It's been quite calm for SEPs for the past, well, couple of weeks actually. Gauss proton flux remains at flatlined baseline levels. And there's that flare that just came in. That was a little over a C 7.5 magnitude flare. And here's 94 angstroms from SDO. Another 24-hour video. I would also note that north sunspot that's just rising there. I think it's a sunspot. It looks like there is some activity kicking off up there as well. So that might very well be a new flare player. And our regular viewers are well aware that sunspots are more likely to produce large flares while they're at the limb. There's 131 angstroms for the past 24. Let's take a little closer look here at this northeastern portion. And right at the end of that, you're going to see that CME and solar flare. So that there is a coronal mass ejection propagating from that. It does not look like it'll be earthly directed. It is a little too early to tell, I suspect. But we will show the latest data just after we show things like a star chart. So, star chart, there you go. That's what's going on over our head. If you want to make your own, check out skyandtelescope.org. If you're viewing the dusk sky, you might see Mars there trailing the sun. It'll be pretty low, and Jupiter is setting right now at the moment. That's a double preposition. That makes it a bad sentence. Jupiter is currently setting over Lehigh Valley. Next, our solar system forecast. That's where things are today. That's where things will be in a week. We will have a gibbous waxing moon by the 23rd of October. And check out our astronomy photo of the day. It's the annular eclipse featuring a marriage proposal. She said yes, folks. She said yes. Thank goodness. apod.nasa.gov. The eclipse rings. Get it? It's a ring of fire. See? It's not contrived at all. It was a cloudy day in Ontario. Congratulations to whoever those people are. apod.nasa.gov if you want to check it out yourself. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to Eugene the Philosopher, go subscribe to Eugene the Philosopher. That's okay. This video will be here when you come back. Eugene the Philosopher. He's the largest contributor to this channel, besides Smash Staff and I. In terms of contributing content, of course. He doesn't pay us. He's not a member of the Smash team, but he does pay for himself very well in his understanding of physics. So Eugene the Philosopher and check out his latest video, Do Planets Cause Big Solar Flares? Here's a clip. He created a lot of data about where the earthly directed, the flares on the Earth side of the solar disk were oriented. This image here depicts the location of the flare on the solar disk, and the length of the arrow there indicates the magnitude of the flare. And he did exhaustive research here for months and months, plotting out where the planets were and where the flares occurred. So if you want to find out whether or not planets cause large solar flares, make sure you watch this video. Go subscribe to Eugene the Philosopher, the greatest living philosopher since the unfortunate passing of Robert the Nameland. Yep, that's a thing. Go subscribe to Eugene the Philosopher, the largest contributor to this channel, or we will find you and we will shame you. Go watch all of his videos, leave him a comment, and tell him Smasho sent you. Cheers. Cheers to Eugene. Next, we're going to look at CMEs. And unfortunately, George Mason University's CME monitor has been down for days, so no computer interpolation of the LASCO C2. There's a CME coming out of the south. That one was at about 1800 Universal Time yesterday on the 15th. Is that earthly directed? We'll let you know here in a minute. Here's a little closer view. Let me allow the C2 to get ahead of the C3. There we go. So here comes that CME out of the south. So far, it looks promising. It could have an earthly directed component. If so, it's a pretty mild coronal mass ejection. And we'll figure that out here in just a moment. Mercury showing up there on the C3. Let's show stereo A as well. Here's where it's located, where this red circle is. And here's the stereo A coronagraph on the left and the difference imagery on the right. So it just showed two CMEs that are likely to strike Earth. How NOAA and NASA didn't model those, I have no idea. Maybe they were busy over the weekend. I don't know. Let's see if we can find these. About 1800 yesterday, so let's see. Oh, and there's a bunch of missing data. Not cool, dude. Not cool. So, that doesn't help. Let's cut to our custom coronagraphs. Those will help. There's SDO 304 plus the Soho LASCO C3 in blue and C2 in red. It's actually multiple events going on there. There's a little closer view. So one of those is certainly this filament eruption down here. However, there is a second I suspect there's another CME headed toward Earth. That one not likely to arrive until sometime early in the day on the 19th. So we're looking at 3 days of CME impacts now. One of those came out right out of the center of the solar disk, the most likely place to produce an Earth-directed CME. So there you go, another coronal mass ejection headed toward Earth. That's 3 now. 3 now likely to arrive once again in the next 3 days, the 17th, 18th, and 19th. All likely to see minor coronal mass ejection impacts. So here we'll zoom in another level and add 193 angstroms while we subtract the LASCO C3. So multiple events going off there. This one down here does not appear to be earthly directed, I don't think. But there is a second event coming from right in the center of the solar disk. And again, there's actually another event happening now, so let's blast through some more data here. We're going to get the filaments next. And 193 plus 304 angstroms SDO is great at showing filaments. So there you go. There's the past 24 hours. And this filament right here is absolutely massive. So that one is definitely deserving of a name. We'll talk about naming filaments here in just a minute. First, let's show what went on yesterday. This was quite a picturesque CME. There you can see the beginning of this one too. Again, that one likely has an earthly directed component. In fact, it might be directly headed toward Earth. But it is a small CME, so not a mate. We're expecting less than sub KP6 if there is a geomagnetic storm. It does depend on the magnetic field strength and orientation. So there you go. Some action once again. A prime example, folks, of how you can see coronal mass ejections without solar flares. Remember, they're separate events. You don't even need to see sunspots for CMEs. We realized we could forecast coronal mass ejections near solar minimum, actually, when there were very few sunspots. Anyway, let's take a look at the Udaipur, India. That's the Udaipur, India Hydrogen Alpha Telescope. So this filament up here is quite massive as well. This one's already named. That's the Eric Weinstein filament. That one right there. Free speech advocate and evolutionary biologist Eric Weinstein. This one here really is deserving of a name, though. So let's show you how this is done. Just head to Twitter and make sure you follow the hashtag #NameThatFilament. You can name filaments after your friends, your foes, or even yourself. You want to name that one, go join us over there. Thanks to our new Twitter followers. Actually, thanks to our lost Twitter followers. If you've mysteriously unfollowed us, refollow us over on Twitter. Oh, brother. Still sub 500 followers on Twitter despite having over 22,000 tweets over 4+ years of daily original content. Anyway, there's the grayscale, and you can see some prominences here, mainly around the western limb, also a couple on the eastern limb, namely this one up here in the northeast. I think that has settled back down again. Anyway, that's what's going on. Before we get to bonus features, check it out. Here's this CME that's happening right now, and that C7.5 class solar flare. It's the GOES 16 SUVI. So several events happening here as we produce the video. Makes a boring day of solar activity a little less boring, wouldn't you say? That's the past about 2.5 hours. And let's get the bonus features. Yeah, bonus features. We throw in extra stuff. We show the ionosphere, the electron content, the satellite charging hazards, and more. So here's our first bonus feature. There is the satellite charging hazards map, and there ain't no satellite charging hazards of the high energy or low energy electron variety. There's the electron flux, which remains kind of low here despite a previous expectation of an uptick in the electron flux. It hasn't happened. Electron flux remains very low. There's the 1-year graph, and you can see this extended period of low electron flux. That's from solon.info, by the way, and here is the forecast model. NOAA is expecting flat levels today, and then an increase in the electron flux tomorrow. I would tend to agree with that. Let's take a look at the layer where it's measured, the F layer. The F layer of the ionosphere. There it is. The F or F2 layer, courtesy of Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology, mostly high frequency at the moment. Not a lot of scintillation happening, with extremely weak solar wind. A highly settled ionosphere is what's currently going on. There's the anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. We show it daily on the Daily Space Weather Show. That is mostly high frequency. So the opposite of what you see during geomagnetic storm conditions, low frequency anomalies, we're seeing mostly high frequency anomalies. There's 1230 universal time ionogram and 1230 universal time anomalygram. Here's the WHAM, the whole atmosphere model. It shows total electron content and maximum usable frequency. The left is for your GPS users and the right is for you radio operators. And that is the Global Ionosphere Nowcast. We also show total electron content. Here's the forecast on a global scale. Also good for your GPS users. And I suppose radio users. And we'll also show total electron content anomaly from the 10-day average over North America. No major anomalies happening over North America here. And here are the latest images. Do we have a sunspot up there in the northeast yet? I don't think so. Not a sunspot yet. However, down here we certainly do have some new ones. I believe there are two that haven't gotten names yet. So that one right there is pretty decent sized. Just one that hasn't gotten a name, I guess. Anyway, there's the full disk view. And today we're going to start out our meteorology segment with ocean temperature, sea surface temperature, and currents. We're going to show the sea surface temperature and currents for the whole planet. So first of all, the Gulf Stream, as our European viewers rely on this to prevent all of the northern hemisphere from freezing over. And as you can see, the Gulf Stream is still making it to Iceland and Ireland. If you're banking on a year without a summer, you're going bankrupt. Anyway, there are sea surface temperatures and currents for the Atlantic. How about the Arctic? There you go. And we are watching ice build here. At least once a week we'll show this map. You can see Arctic ice building as winter approaches. How about the Indian Ocean? There you go. Sea surface temperatures and currents for the Antarctic, the Southern Ocean. And the world's largest body of water and surface heat sink, the Pacific. The mighty, mighty Pacific. Single-handedly covering like a third of the Earth's surface. Anyway, speaking of surface, here are the surface winds of the eastern world. Some very high seas there in the North Pacific. We'll get to it. First, the jet streams of the east, jet streams of the central world, surface winds of the central world, surface winds of the west. And there are the jet streams as Canadian air keeps pushing further and further to the east. Actually, farther and farther to the east. Further is what you do with your education. Farther is what you do with distances. Continuing right along, and there are the highest seas in the world. I think 46 footers there, 46-foot waves happening right now in the northern Pacific. Some high winds are roiling up some high waves up there. Also some stormy seas there in the North Atlantic, but no 46-foot waves in the North Atlantic for sure. Next, clouds and fog over the Americas. A bunch of low clouds there forming over the Gulf of Mexico. And you can see that low cloud scenario happening there as winds are accelerated. Yeah, water, it accelerates winds. Because in a high pressure environment, the winds only have one way to blow, horizontal, in line with the water. So we do have a bunch of gale warnings around the Gulf and Floridian Atlantic coast. Here's weather.gov's map. Some hard freeze warnings there in the south central portion of the country continue. And also some gale warnings there on the left coast. Windy conditions around U.S. seaways. Here comes some forecasts from tropicaltidbits.com. Yeah, tropicaltidbits.com. It's where we get our forecast from most days. Here is the 72-hour GFS pressure and precipitation forecast first. Next, GFS mean sea level pressure and winds. We showed this one because, again, gale warnings around the Gulf, Florida coast, the Atlantic Florida coast, that is, and on the left coast. Especially Oregon is going to see some quite significant winds there. Perhaps some good surf. Of course, you want an offshore wind. I'm not so sure that's what's going to be happening. Offshore winds, they stand the waves up and make them steeper and bigger. Next, the jet stream forecast. Same GFS 72-hour model, 250 millibar winds, otherwise known as the jet stream. The second pulse of cold Canadian air is going to be right behind this one. So it's been a pretty cold October here in Pennsylvania. What about where you are? Let us know in the comments. And here is temperature anomaly. That's temperature anomaly in degrees Celsius based on a 72-hour GFS model. Our last forecast today from Tropical Tidbits. tropicaltidbits.com. Highly recommend it. If you want to build your own GIF animations like this one, that's where to get them. Multiple models available there. We show the 3-day GFS because it tends to be accurate. Anything beyond 3 days is probably crap. The accuracy drops precipitously after a 3-day forecast. 4-day forecasts are probably something like 38% accurate, something like that. A lot of hot air over the Rockies continues. Next, lightning. And it's been pretty calm, and it'll get calmer. We'll even drop this eventually, since winter is coming and there ain't going to be a lot of lightning. Here's a real-time lightning map from lightningmaps.org. We'll keep showing that one, though. 362 strikes per minute here at the moment. Mainly around Mexico, the central Atlantic, and the central Mediterranean. We'll close this video out with U.S. Doppler radar, clouds and fog, and water vapor. There's the full 50-state view. There's the lower 48 view. There is the clouds and fog. Even though it's dark over half the country, the 3.9 micrometer infrared radiation map shows those features. There's water vapor. and lots of moisture over the Pacific Northwest. Here's your recap. Vertical motion in the air column from ground-based Doppler systems. Clouds and fog. Satellite-based systems showing infrared radiation and a different band of infrared radiation from satellites showing water vapor, dry air as well as moist air. And that is where we will end this thing. And thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network, the busted name of news. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash and Mash, signing off. And may that solar wind be at your back.